Greetings, Africa and its mighty diaspora. From the streets of Chicago to the streets of Ouagadougou, from the streets of Kingston to the streets of Kinshasa, this is the X-Man coming straight at you, 10 toes down, hoodie pulled tight, and my heart's locked in. Today, my people, we got fire in the hole because the time of colonialism is over, but the West still hasn't gotten the memo. They're still walking around like it's 1884, like the Berlin Conference never ended, like they can still sit in some back room with pens and maps and carve up nations while the blood of Africans and the global South waters their profits. Well, newsflash, that era is dead and gone, and the world is moving without them. See, Putin shook the world when he said it flat out. The colonial era is over, and you don't even have to like the man to recognize the truth in that statement. The multipolar world is here. China, India, Brazil, Russia, and South Africa, the entire BRICS bloc, these are economic giants that have shown there's no more one sheriff in town. And Africa is the heartbeat of that multipolar future. We got the land, we got the minerals, we got the youth, we got the culture, and now we got leaders who ain't bowing no more. Men like Captain Ibrahim Traoré of Burkina Faso, men like Colonel Assimi Goïta of Mali, men like General Abdourahmane Tiani of Niger. Together they formed the AES, the Alliance of Sahel States, and they said out loud what too many African presidents were afraid to whisper: we are sovereign, we are free, and we will no longer be ruled by Paris, Washington, or London. But the West? Oh, they still don't know what time it is. They still talk to Africa with that colonial tone. They still call our leaders juntas. They still label them dictators. They still act like democracy means only one thing: you bow to Western orders. They never admit the hypocrisy that they install leaders in coups when it benefits them, that they assassinate men like Patrice Lumumba when he refuses to hand over Congo's riches, that they silence men like Thomas Sankara when he dares to call for self-reliance. They want us to forget, but Africa remembers. Let's rewind. The United States loves to preach about sovereignty, but what happened in Ukraine? Leaked phone calls show U.S. officials handpicking leaders before the ouster of Yanukovych. Straight colonial playbook. NATO promised Russia after the Cold War that it wouldn't expand eastward, and then broke that promise over and over. When Russia pushed back, the West screamed aggression. But who was aggressive first? Same pattern with Africa. They break treaties, they set traps, then blame us when we resist. And look at the destruction they've left behind. Libya, 2011. NATO bombs rained down on Gaddafi because he dared to push for an African gold-backed currency. They toppled a sovereign state, and today, Libya is a graveyard of broken cities and open-air slave markets. Don't talk to me about human rights when NATO itself created human trafficking hubs in North Africa. Don't talk to me about democracy when France still forces African countries to keep their reserves in Paris, banks through the CFA franc. Don't talk to me about sovereignty when Eisenhower gave the green light to Belgium and the CIA to assassinate Lumumba in 1961. Don't talk to me about freedom when Leopold of Belgium butchered 10 to 15 million Africans in the Congo, cutting off hands like it was some sort of sport. And don't talk to me about justice when the transatlantic slave trade ripped at least 12 million souls from Africa, unalive millions more in the Middle Passage, and wiped out generations. My people, colonialism has worn many masks: chains on ships, flags on soil, IMF loans, structural adjustment programs, military bases, coups dressed up as democracy, and even now they still try to lecture us. But here's the reality check. Africa sees through the mask. The AES is the living proof, because Traoré, Goïta, and Tiani have pulled the plug on French control. They expelled foreign troops. They demanded respect on their terms. And when the U.S. delegation rolled up to Ouagadougou on August 29th, 2025, all smiles and praise, Captain Traoré refused to meet them. That silence was thunder. That absence was a declaration. You don't get to insult us in April and flatter us in August. You don't get to call us juntas one day and partners the next. Hold up. Now, if this message is hitting your chest hard like a djembe drum, like it should, then smash that like button and subscribe to this channel and share this video across all of your social media platforms. Share this video with your mama, your pops, your uncles, aunties, and all your cousins and friends, because this ain't entertainment. This ain't TikTok or Netflix. This is Africa's revolution, and Africa needs all hands on deck. By sharing this video, this is the way you can get involved in the revolution, like your life depends on it, because it does. Now, where was I? Oh, yeah, the West thinks it can bluff forever. But let me tell you, Europe right now is fragile. Energy crisis, debt crisis, protests on the streets over the cost of living, migrant crises ripping their societies apart. And yet, instead of fixing their house, they push war with Russia. They push sanctions on Africa. They push lectures like they still own the world. That arrogance is going to destroy them, just like colonial arrogance destroyed every empire before. Sun Tzu said it. If you know neither yourself nor your enemy, you will succumb in every battle. Europe doesn't know itself, doesn't know its enemy, and now they're walking blind into disaster. Africa must not follow that path. We cannot afford to repeat their arrogance. We must build food security. No more spending $43 billion importing food when we have 60% of the world's uncultivated arable land. We must build currency independence. No more colonial currencies like the CFA franc. We must build value-add economies. No more shipping raw minerals while others get rich off the finished products. And most of all, we must build unity. Sankara said it. We must dare to invent the future. Traoré is living that. Goïta is living that. Tiani is living that. They are showing us the road to sovereignty. And that's why the West fears them, because their example is contagious. If the AES succeeds, it proves every African nation can succeed without the West. If Burkina Faso can feed the Sahel, if Mali can stand without French troops, if Niger can resist U.S. bases, then what excuse do other African leaders have? None. That's why Western media labels them dictators. That's why Washington whispers junta. That's why Paris fumes, because the empire of lies is cracking and the empire of Africa is rising. So here's the truth. The colonial era is over, but the West doesn't know it. They still cling to the old playbook: coups, assassinations, sanctions, aid traps. But Africa has flipped the page. Africa has remembered its strength. Africa has remembered its worth, and Africa is standing tall. Burkina Faso, Mali, Niger, they are the vanguard. The AES is the front line, and the diaspora from Chicago to Kingston, from London to Sao Paulo, we are the rear guard, the support, the voice. Together, we are unstoppable. No sellouts, no filters, no fear. This is the X-Man signing off.